Welcome to another Riding for the Bible brand. Once again, I'm with my horse, MC Hammer, playing stylish horse, and we just want to talk for a few moments about a Bible passage and make application to what's going on in the country today and what's going on in the world today. And I call this Bible brand, or this particular passage, or this lesson, "Let him that stole steal no more." That's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28. You know, one of the 10 commandments of the Old Testament, the 8th command, is "Thou shalt not steal." That, of course, means taking that which does not belong to you. And in the New Testament, we have it reiterated upon several occasions, and one of the passages is that from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28, that is, "Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the things that is good, that he may have whereof to give to him that has need." Right in that passage, you'll notice that work is good for a person, and it is something by which we accumulate goods, and with those goods we distribute to other people, and that, of course, is free will giving. That's what the Bible has regarding giving. But you know, we have really institutionalized theft in our country in too many ways, and I'll say this: the welfare system as it is indeed a system of institutionalized theft. Well, why is that the case? Well, let's illustrate it with this illustration. And I borrowed this from, rather adapted it. Earl Taylor of the National Center of Constitutional Studies has an illustration similar to this, but I've adapted it and we'll make it just a little bit different. Let's say that here I am, I have a horse, and me and my wife have 3 horses here on our property. And so these 3 horses are ones that we ride, and one, of course, is a young horse that we cannot ride. My neighbor, however, on one hand, is the Smith family, and the Smith family, they have a hard time. You know, they don't have any horses. They don't even have a car. They don't have a horse to ride anywhere. Now, of course, in the Biden presidency, if that's what's going to happen here, then of course we'll need to get all horses and ride, because they're going to cut out the combustible engine, so they all need a horse to ride. So the Smith family, on the one hand, they have no horses, and they're pretty poor, and they're just getting along barely, and they have a little shack that they live in. On the other hand, I have the Jones family on the other side of me, and they have 10 horses. They have a lot of land, and they have 10 horses. And so I say, you know what, I think it's pretty sad that the Smith family is so poor and they don't have a horse. And so I go to my friend, Mr. Jones. I say, "Mr. Jones," I say, "won't you give him," Mr. Smith that is, "go give Mr. Smith one of your horses. You have 10. Give him one of your horses." He said, "Well, I'm sorry for what's going on with that family. The Smith family's poor," but he says, "You know what? Thank you for the suggestion. I work for my horses, and I'm going to keep my horses." So I said, "No, I insist that you give one of your horses." He says, "Get out of here. You made a suggestion, now leave." But you know, I come home and I'm worried because the Smith family doesn't have any horses at all. They can't ride around, and so since we're all going to be without a combustible engine, and you know, the electrical cars are not working very good that Biden wants to have, so I say, you know what, I am so concerned about the Smith family, I'm going to get a horse for him. So I go in the middle of the night and I take one of Mr. Jones's horses and I bring it over there and knock on Mr. Smith's door, and I say, "Here, Mr. Smith, there's a horse for you." He said, "For me?" I said, "Yeah, it's a horse for you. You can take this horse." I hand him the lead rope, and he's got it on a halter, and I says, "You know what? I'll even next thing you know, I'll go get a saddle for you, because I know some people that have got 10 saddles, and you know, they don't need all 10. They can't ride 10 at once. So I'm going to go get a saddle for you too." So Mr. Smith says, "Well, that's great. Thank you for that." Well, the next thing you know, I hear a knock on my door. And it's the sheriff of Wichita County. He says, "Hey," he says, "there's evidence that you've stolen a horse here." I says, "Well, sure I did. I did, because you know, Mr. Jones has 10 horses. Now he's down to 9, but you know, he has 10 horses, and he doesn't need 10. And the Smith family, they don't have any horses at all. So I sent him a horse. I gave him a horse." Well, he says, "You know what? You can tell that to the judge." Now he's coughing here a little bit here, but maybe he's not doing so well. So at any rate, I've given that horse of Mr. Jones to Mr. Smith, and I say, you know, but that was, of course, stealing. So now they take me to the judge. I go to jail, and I spend a couple of years in the pokey. And that's a good thing that we're living in today, because 100 years ago, they would have strung me up higher than Haman for stealing a horse. But at any rate, you know, that's the lackadaisical laws that we have in our society today. So, but after I get out of jail, I say, you know what? I'm going to do something about that. The Smith family, they have no horses at all, and the Jones have 10. So I go around with a petition, and I ask all of my neighbors out in the country, I said, you know what? I tell them about the plight of the Smith family. They don't have any horses, and the Jones they're rich. They have so many horses. And so you know what? They say, you know what? We're going to sign a petition that the Jones family must give one of those horses to Mr. Smith. And it passes at the ballot box. I don't know if there's any cheating going on or not on that one, but that passes at the ballot box, and lo and behold, the law is now that the Jones family must give one of his horses to Mr. Smith. And so the sheriff, who had before come and arrested me, now has to come and take the horse from Mr. Jones and take it over to Mr. Smith and hands him that halter and lead rope with the horse on it. Now what happened here? What's happened? Everybody can see it. You know, I tell this type of illustration to school children and they see it. What's happened is we have institutionalized theft. Thou shalt not steal applies to individuals. It applies also to a government, which is nothing more than an association of individuals. That's all a government is. And we have institutionalized theft. What we have done is we have taken the Bible and we've thrown it out the window with our welfare system. And we have said, we don't care what the Bible says. It's not about personal giving. It's simply about forcing people to give up what's theirs to give to someone else. That's theft. And so consequently, we have violated the 8th command of the Decalogue, that is, thou shalt not steal. And we violated what Paul said, let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing that is good, that he may have to give to him that has need. I want to work, I want to labor, I want to accumulate goods, and it's not simply that I might hoard them, that I might give, but giving is free will giving. Let's think about how we have institutionalized theft in our country. Thank you for listening to Writing for the Bible Brand.